as for news of us, for people like myself and others, that for you guys out there, if you are a Pyxis 12K owner, let me know in the chat. I got it right here, but I'm gonna just go ahead. Let me just go ahead and grab this guy real quick for the time being. We're talking Pyxis 12K. For all of us Pyxis 12K shooters, we have some news now that Blackmagic Pyxis 12K has been approved for Netflix. It has finally happened. I think this approval came out Friday, so or at least Blackmagic made the announcement Friday. Let's first read the article, and then I'm going to sort of give my thoughts on this. So Netflix has cleared the Blackmagic Pyxis 12K for use of its 4K originals, making the compact, large, full-frame 12K box-style camera the most affordable Blackmagic camera ever to land on the streamer's approved list. Scroll down. Until now, Blackmagic's approved roster has been limited to traditional cinema bodies like the Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K G2, the Mini Pro 12K, the Ursa Cine 12K, and most recently the Ursa Cine 17K. So the Pyxis 12K being part of this approved list is like really, really dope in terms of the compact design. So, and then this is sort of the capture settings and sort of the guide that Netflix shows up. So basically, long story of it is pretty much almost all of the modes except for in constant bitrate 18:1 and in terms of constant quality Q5. But outside of that, all of the resolutions and the compression options in Blackmagic RAW is those are the fall into the recommended or the recommended status, which also speaks great for some people. That I know there's been some talk that the 4K, so maybe some controversials. I've already talked about the 4K and how great the 4K is. In fact, I think it's probably one of the best 4K images that I've ever seen in terms of quality. So, and Netflix shows that, so you don't have to shoot in 8K, you don't have to shoot in 12K or 9K. You can shoot in 4K, and they also give a guides in dynamic range, as Cindy D points out here. The guy also publishes the camera's dynamic range distribution, which is worth reading out carefully. In the 12K and 9K, total dynamic range sits at 16 stops across the entire ISO range. Highlights shitting from 4.1 stops all the way up to 8.7 stops at 3200 ISO. In the 8K or 4K modes, they come in at 15.7 stops, so you lose only a third of a stop when switching those, which we've known by now. With distribution shifting by 1 stop, given the extra stops, the shadows information exchange for 1 stop less highlight headroom at any given ISO. This distinction matters in practice because crews planning to push exposures in mixed source environments will likely favor 12K or 9K for their additional highlight latitude, while 8K and 4K may be better matched for interiors or scenes where shadow details dominate. And Cindy D also likes to point out that they got their lab test results where the camera in 4K, by the way, gets the best dynamic range result at 13.2 signal to noise ratio of 2 and 14.6 at signal to noise ratio of 1. But what does it mean for us as filmmakers? Well, let's start off with what this means for Blackmagic. To me, this means the most to Blackmagic Design in terms of legitimacy. For years, Blackmagic has been it's definitely been working to get inroads into the studios and Hollywood and sort of the more higher up productions, and sort of be seen as a legitimate alternative to the key boys, which are like Red, like the Monstro, or in this case now the V-Raptor, with Sony with the Venice and the Venice line. Also the Barano, you can put that in there. And of course, we got to talk about Ari as well with their Alexa Mini. So Blackmagic has always been trying to be making inroads into that crowd, and sort of getting on the bigger budget sets. So with the Pyxis 12K getting approved for Netflix, for them, it's a big deal because it legitimizes in those spaces, in those larger productions, it legitimizes Blackmagic that it's okay to use. And more importantly, what it does is it gives real credibility and foundation to the RGBW sensor that is now in these cameras, and and really shows off the quality of that sensor, which you've heard me rave about it, and you've heard probably a lot of people on YouTube rave about it. And it's worth it. It's a beautiful sensor. It's an amazing sensor. So for Blackmagic, this is like one of those big stepping stones because even if you put it in this sensor in a smaller body, it still is worthy enough to be on larger sets. Now, what does that mean for us? Well, honestly, for 90% of us, or even 95% of us, this news is pretty much meaningless. It doesn't really mean anything. For anybody that, because I know so many people make a big deal about the Netflix approval, and I know I just went on a rave, but I wanted to make the point that this was a big deal for Blackmagic because they have been pursuing the higher end of filmmaker for a while, and this was a stepping stone for them. But for the rest of us, let's be clear, unless you are one of those, one of the very few that get the chance to DP or cam up or work on one of Netflix original content, and whether you are a producer or you're the director, and if you're a producer or director or even the DP, you are being hired by Netflix. If you're one of the few people that get a chance to be hired by Netflix to do these originals for them, then yes, this means something to you. But that's like 5% of us filmmakers, at best 10%. So the rest, so the 95% of us, it doesn't mean anything. It means nothing, zilch, squatch, nada, because this list only matters if Netflix is paying for the production and it's being designed for the original series. That's it. Otherwise, and I know and this has been sort of some talk about it's but if you want to get your project onto Netflix and want to sell it to Netflix, don't you want to be on one of these lists? And the answer is no. You don't have to. You don't have to be on this list to get your project or whatever you're filming is on Netflix. You don't have to. It only matters for their original content. And I've talked about this years ago, but I'm going to always preach it because it's like I don't want people trying to buy into things. As much as I love my Pyxis 12K and I will continue to rave about the Pyxis 12K, I don't want you trying to make a financial decision based on what you think will get you onto something like Netflix if it's not one of their original series. To get on Netflix, really, it's all you have to do is three things. Just three things. A, make a damn good film. That's number one. A, make a damn good film. B, have that film get some buzz. Take it through the film circuits and the film festivals. Let it get buzz and get traction. And then three, make connections with people that are in the Netflix sphere to put you in the room with the right people to get your content on there. But that's it. The camera doesn't really, if it ain't one of their originals, if they ain't paying for it, they don't care. As long as you're making a good film, that's what matters the most. Make a good film, let it get buzz, and then have the right connections. You do that, yeah, you can get your project onto Netflix. So basically to sum this all up, I am very happy for Blackmagic that they have gotten this approval because it helps legitimize them for the upper echelons of filmmakers. It legitimizes the RGBW sensor and the quality that brings even more. So that is, I'm happy for them. But for the rest of us that are like, look, I'm not DPing like a Netflix original. Would I love to? Sure. But I'm not. And if I'm not one of the people that's not, this doesn't really mean anything. And, you know, if you want to get your content onto Netflix, you don't have to use one of these cameras that's on this list. You can use whatever camera you have as long as the project is good, as long as you can get it to get buzz, and then as long as you can make connections and network and find the right people to get you on the Netflix. That's the name of the game.